Hello everyone and welcome to the Gaming Corner. I'm Calio and today we're going to look at the bosses from Dead Rising 2. This zombie game was made by Capcom and came out back in 2010, and 10 years later it is still going strong, bringing some of the most enjoyable zombie slashing and one of the coolest soundtracks given to us by no other than Zeldwell himself, which by the way, I can highly recommend that you go check out on Spotify. So, join me as we take a look at these psychopaths that our main protagonist Chuck Green has to face while fighting through the zombie hordes, ranking them from the worst to the best.
Do I need something?
To start off, on the bottom of our list, we're going to have a look at TKs Helicopter. TK, aka Tyrone King, is the main antagonist of the game and is the show host for Terror is Reality, which is a game show where 4 contestants have to kill zombies to score points and ultimately win the show. During the main story of the game, TK tries to escape Fortune City by taking off in his helicopter, which Chuck now has to put a stop to. But while it's cool to fight off a helicopter, having to throw random objects to deal proper damage to it kinda makes this boss seem pretty dull. And not only do you have to deal with the helicopter itself, you also have to deal with the fact that there are cranes that are winching it down, and when it's not, the helicopter is going to move about trying to knock over Chuck, which adds a really annoying aspect to the fight. So most of the time you're just spending jumping back and forward hoping that you won't get knocked over by the crane. So I'm sorry TK, but I guess you'll have to find another pilot. Next up we have BB Love. While not technically a boss fight, she is still counted as one of the psychopaths encountered in the game, so I'll toss her on the list for good measure. This aging pop star believes that just because all of her fans has turned into brain-numbing zom-zoms, she definitely hasn't sung her last song yet. Well, unfortunately for us. While she certainly brings some new aesthetics to the stage, this encounter is definitely one of the worst. But still, having to smash buttons that pop up on the screen in this rhythm game you have to play still was more enjoyable than getting craned in the face constantly. So after helping BB, she can finally thank us by crowd surfing on top of the dead people? I don't know, BB. Whatever works for you, I guess. Just be careful with your decision. It might end up biting you in the rear end.
Get a little angry if that happens.
No man, just do it.
Look.
Next up we got Sgt Boykin. Sgt Boykin was part of the team that was sent into Fortune City to extract the survivors and kill the zombies. But what our good old Sarge didn't know was that a toxic gas was spreading throughout the city, turning our zombie pals into mutated zombie pals that ended up killing off his entire unit. So our crazy friend decided to kidnap our reporter lady, Rebecca, and head underground where we must now end his suffering. Now, this may come to you as a shocker, but when guns aren't used by the enemy in this game, they sadly do fuck all in terms of damage, making this fight drag out for way longer than it should, since no man should be able to possibly endure over 200 gunshots without flinching. And just like any other gun, your gun runs out of ammo, making you have to scout the arena for more weapons to shoot him with. Too bad, Sarge. In the end, I guess you couldn't even protect yourself.
I'll never be one of you. Move.
Next up we got the 4 friends Earl, Deeds, Johnny and Derek to deal with. These gun-loving patriots decided to take the opportunity of a zombie outbreak to set a camp on top of the rooftops of Fortune City, having some rather questionable debates about politics while taking shots at innocent survivors trying to fight their way past the zombies chasing after them. Chuck is no exception to this rule, and he must now climb the top of 4 different rooftops to fight off each individual psychopath to stop the killing of the innocents. This event happens while doing the main story, and it makes it basically impossible to roam outside without being constantly sniped from a distance, which is incredibly frustrating when you have to deal with hundreds of zombies around you as well. While some of them show quite some amazing gun handling, I guess, it just wasn't enough of them in the end. God bless America, right?
Yeah, God bless America. Woo-hoo. Let's go hunting, boys.
Next, we got Leon. Nope, not this guy. Leon was one of the 4 contestants besides Chuck in the game show Terror is Reality, and is pissed because Chuck won the game, and believes that Chuck was one of the people who started the outbreak to begin with. Chuck just wants to mind his own business, but for Leon, the game never ended, it just started. So it's time to pick a ride and race this nutjob back and forward inside the streets of Fortune City. This fight is rather annoying if you have to deal with him on foot, since he will take a big chunk off of your health if he hits you with the chainsaws that are mounted onto his bike. But if you're lucky like I was, he might just get stuck somewhere, making this fight a piece of cake. Game over, Leon. I won. Again. And just like Chuck says,
Yeah, you're on fire.
Next up we have Seymour. This guy's here to let us know that there can only be one sheriff in town, and he is putting a new order to the world, starting off by hanging anyone who gets in his way. Chuck, of course, doesn't want to hang around for too long, so he has to make quick work of Sheriff Woody here and his schemes. This fight wasn't too bad, aside from some nasty combos that Seymour can throw at you with some baton? God damn it, I can't pronounce that. Oh well. And some revolver shots. He can quickly knock Chuck off of his feet. Good thing I brought some boxing gloves with knives. That'll put a quick end to him. Who's stumbling now, old man? Oh, watch out, dude! Oh. Guess he never saw that one coming.
I saw what you did there.
Next up is Sullivan. Now, I know this may be a bit surprising since he's the final boss of the game, depending on if you unlock the overtime ending or not, but my god was this guy a pain in the ass to fight. After exposing himself and his schemes to the heroes of our story and killing Rebecca, Chuck has one final fight with the guy who had it out for him right since the beginning of the game. What makes this fight so frustrating is that Sullivan will disarm you if you're using any weapons against him and toss you out from the platform on which he's standing. Which is why I had to fight him with some good old fisticuffs and some air kicks, which a lot of you questioned in my boss video, but hopefully now you have the answer to it. Air kicks deal quite a bit of damage to him, so while boring, if this attack is repeated, Sullivan will go down in the end. But if you do fall down, you have to slowly make your way up to him, and let's just say platforming wasn't Dead Rising 2's strongest side. Oh well, in the end, he got what's coming to him. Next on the list is Chef Antoine. This culinary mess of a man is making some delicious steaklets from the victims he captures, but he isn't quite ready for the critics. So when Chuck and Rancy gives him his final judge of the food, let's just say Chef Antoine doesn't exactly take it with a grain of salt. This fight once again is accompanied with a very cool soundtrack made by Cell Dweller, that I sadly can't share in the video due to copyrights, but it really adds to the intensity of the fight. Tossing pans and plates at you while running around like the little cheeky chef he is, damaging him straight up just isn't enough. He can knock you on the ground with a single hit if you aren't careful, and if he's taken enough damage, he will run around the restaurant trying to find something to eat which will heal the damage that you just did to him. But just like every other psychopath on this list, Antoine eventually hits a boiling point, giving Chuck the opportunity to shut this restaurant down for good. Next up we got, you guessed it, Slappy the Masket. This poor guy was just tending to his day job as a mascot together with his girlfriend until she was killed off by the zombies, leaving him to wander around the store all by himself, killing anyone who tries to get near him or his costume soulmate. This fight was pretty unique, having a mascot roller skating around you with water guns spewing fire. But we all know what can send a dude rolling, that's by kicking him in the guts, so that's exactly the right way to deal with Slappy here. But be careful, stick around for too long and you'll get caught in this burning hot ring of fire. But when the fight is over, Slappy crawls up to his beloved, leaving us behind with one last jump scare and one creepy looking smile.
Don't worry, kids. The Slappy will live forever.
Next up, we got the twins Amber and Crystal. Being the left and right hand of TK himself, these two ladies won't let anyone mess with their boss's plans, which is to frame Chuck for the outbreak in Fortune City and get away with it. Rebecca is once again held hostage, and Chuck once again comes to the rescue. The fight itself involves fighting these two sword-wielding ladies inside of this nightclub until one of them eventually hits the ground, resulting in a different cutscene depending on who you decided to kill first. So after dueling back and forward in this dance of the swords, the twins finally meets their demise, going out in a very honorable samurai way. God damn it, it's always the pretty ones, isn't it? Next on the list is virgin boy Randy, who has finally found someone who wasn't fast enough to get away from him, so that he can marry her and make some love, sweet love. His dad and his bride, however, isn't too happy about Randy's decision, and before they know of it, Randy's wedding is cut short by Chuck's interruption. Now he must face this chainsaw-wielding mad lad who invested too much of his time with Cheetos and Red Bull, and make sure he doesn't get to say his I do. Randy can deal quite a bit of damage with his chainsaw dash, but still this fight added quite a unique character to our list of psychos. But I'm sorry Randy, we aren't just done with the list just yet, and you certainly didn't make it to the top of it.
Baby, we could have been so good together. Our wedding night would have been so...
Next, we got Carl the Mailman. Despite the end of the world here, this man will make sure that you'll still get your package on time. Though I guess this time around you can't really blame him for any damage to the packets, taking all the zombies in consideration and all. Chuck comes by Carl while taking a stroll through the mall, but turns out Carl in fact has a very special delivery for him after he recognizes who Chuck really is. But just like everyone else, we don't appreciate it if a package is ticking. Oof. No wonder Carl gets pissed with you, Chuck. You just messed up his mail card. How dare you? Now we have to deal with the man himself, and he isn't all happy about being delayed. This fight was a bit ridiculous since Carl uses a shotgun that has crazy range and somehow always manages to hit you if you're not behind cover. But nevertheless, Carl still managed to make one final delivery before going out with a bang.
Express.
Next on the list, we got Reed and Roger, the not so magical version of Penn and Teller. These two have put on a show for us all to see, showing us how they can saw a woman in half. Oh wait, they actually just did. That's Chuck, what do you have to say to this?
That's not magic. She's dead.
Right you are, Chuck, as always. Not only did they bring the worst magic trick to the table, they also brought a rocket gun. But sadly it's not enough, and in the end, it seems their friendship was built on hate rather than magic.
I've always wanted to do that.
Moving on to the top 3 here, we got Brandon. The reason I've chosen to put Brandon so high on the list is, for many, he's the first psychopath that you stumble across in this game. Despite being one of the protesters for the organization Cure, which is a movement against the zombies and the fact they're being used for competition, it seems like Brandon didn't quite get the message. In an attempt to get a zombie to bite an innocent woman, he's stopped by Chuck and the fight commences. As annoying as this fight can be to some, having Brandon jumping in and out of random bathroom stalls, chasing you with a glass shard of all things, it was still such an epic fight and a great way to introduce the psychopaths in this game and the length of their insanity. Still gotta die though. On second place we got Tyrone King, TK the man himself. If you manage to save it by giving him some some breaks, the cure that stops you from turning into a zombie, he will eventually escape the safe house and run off with Chuck's daughter and Stacy back to the arena, and have Chuck fetch some items for him. When Chuck finally arrives with his little goodie bag at the arena, it all comes down to one final showdown between contester and show host. This fight was something different. First of all, you're stripped of all your weapons, and you are again having to rely on nothing but your fists and the items found scattered around the arena. Though, if you didn't reach a high enough level to get some of the better melee attacks, you're definitely going to have a hard time. And I can promise you, TK does not go down without a fight. And not only do you have to deal with this guy beating you to a pulp constantly, but you also have to reel in Stacy and Katie every once in a while, hanging down from a rope from the ceiling, slowly descending downwards towards a huge zombie crowd. But we all know good things come to an end, and in this game you gotta remember,
You gotta be willing to risk it all if you're ever really gonna win big.
And finally, on the top spot of the list we have Ted and his tiger Snowflake. This fight is just sad. You meet this poor guy by the casino trying to scavenge for food for his best pal Snowflake. But sadly for him, all of the food has turned spoiled and the tiger cannot eat zombie meat. And not to sound rude, but we quickly come to learn that Ted isn't exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, but he has a heart of gold and is willing to do anything to save his only friend in this world. Even if Chuck tries to calm him down, he accidentally uses the term slowly, which makes Ted snap at him, and yells at Snowflake to attack Chuck. Now there are two ways to go on about this fight. You can either kill both of them, or you can choose to kill Ted first in order to tame Snowflake. Snowflake will attack zombies approaching Ted and then occasionally attack the player, but as soon as Ted falls, the fight is over and the cutscene plays. Ted lies down on the ground and with his final breath he begs Snowflakes to eat him so that Snowflake can stay alive and live for both of them. I mean, come on guys, if that isn't sad and if that doesn't deserve a top spot on this list, you have no heart. This poor guy deserves to be remembered, he simply was too good for this world. Poor Ted.
Kitty. Kitty. Time for supper.
So, that concludes the list. I hope that you all enjoyed the video that I put together. This channel is still very new and I put a lot of work into this video, so if you have any feedback for me, I would love to hear it from you. If you wish to help me out, you can hit the like button as well as subscribing to my channel. That would mean a lot to me. I'm Cal and thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video.